What's good? It's Wood. NAOYA INOUE just stopped Paul Butler in the 11th round to become the undisputed champion at bantamweight. NAOYA INOUE is obviously one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the sport. And, I set my alarm to watch the fight, early a.m. I'm on the West Coast in the United States. I thought that the main event was going to take place at around 4:30 a.m. It looks like it took place more like 2:30 a.m., maybe 3 a.m. I don't know how things got so out of schedule, or I don't know if the schedule was just communicated poorly by the sports media outlets. Either way, I had to watch this one on a slight delay on the ESPN Plus app. And, Paul Butler went a lot deeper into the fight than I thought he would. Well, I thought that he was going to give a more spirited effort. It looked like from basically the second round on, he was content with mostly moving around the ring, keeping a high guard, moving away from Inoue, and more so just fighting a survivalist fight. So Inoue had to try all kinds of creative things to try to get Paul Butler to open up, to give Inoue more opportunities to land effective shots. But it was really Paul Butler mostly just in that high guard, moving around the ring, Inoue patiently coming forward, kind of feinting his way in position, and sometimes not even really feinting his way into position, but just throwing 1, 2, or 3 power punches, or even letting both hands go to the body during some of those exchanges. And every now and then you would get a reaction from Paul Butler where he would open up with 2 or 3 shots. He was catching Inoue with some of those shots as well, but that's because the action from Paul Butler was so sporadic that he almost, in a way, lulled Inoue into like a false sense of comfort, to where Inoue would start coming in a little too heavy to leave himself more vulnerable to the very occasional counters from Paul Butler. But yeah, I didn't have Paul Butler winning one round here. Inoue even put both of his hands behind his back in certain moments. Roy Jones did that during the prime of his career. Inoue also did something where his hands were down and Paul Butler would act like he was going to do something, like kind of take a small step forward or feint or something, and Inoue would just do this kind of like little playful hop back. And, Inoue, he does like to show out. He likes to, create dramatic stoppages like he did against Nonito Donaire in his very last fight in the Inoue versus Donaire rematch. And, for this fight, he had his hair just the natural dark brown, black color instead of, with the dyed tips or the blonde hair. I guess that was symbolic of Inoue kind of taking it back to his roots, because this fight meant so much to him to become undisputed champion at bantamweight. So now that he's handled business there, and by the way, so he's hunting Butler around the ring, having his moments. It looked like the punch stats. I haven't looked at the official punch stats, but I would guess he was probably landing like at a 4-to-1 or 5-to-1 ratio. It looked super lopsided. Again, Paul Butler only had a few moments where he was landing effectively, and it was surprising when he was. Like, he landed a few hooks, because he would suddenly like throw 2 or 3 punches, hard punches, relatively fast punches. It's just that when boxing at range, he was having no success because Inoue was standing just outside of Butler's range and just on the edge of Inoue's punching range, because Inoue has a slight reach advantage. So Inoue was trying to get a reaction out of Butler so that when Butler comes forward with a punch or two, Inoue could then counter that effectively. And so Inoue's kind of chasing Butler around the ring more or less. Butler, again, was super inactive, but Inoue was looking for his spots to land hard punches, was just splashing on Butler. Butler showed a pretty resilient and good chin, but by the 10th, 11th round, the damage became too much, to where when Inoue kind of trapped him along the ropes and let his hands go up top into the body, Butler started to kind of crumble onto the ropes and then started to slide down the ropes, finally collapsed. Didn't make it up, didn't beat the 10 count, and that was all she wrote. So this did take longer than most Inoue fights. Inoue, coming into this fight, had 20 of his 23 wins coming by way of knockout or TKO. So this is now another one of those knockout or TKOs. For a while, I thought that this one looked like it was going the distance just because of the style of fight that was playing out. And Inoue looked like he wasn't going to get too out of character, but he looked a little bit frustrated. He wanted to show out for his, for his Japanese crowd. And this being the battle for Undisputed, he wanted something, I'm sure, something reflective of his abilities to play out. But it was looking like it was going to, be a lopsided decision. But no, he ended up closing the show here. So the question is, now that it looks like Inoue is going to be going to 122, is Stephen Fulton going to stick around? Because it looked like, what was it, WBC that, not mandated, but I think that they either agreed to or they might have ordered a title eliminator, or it might have actually been for the actual WBC 126-pound title. I've got to check that out. But they were basically ordering Stephen Fulton versus Brandon Figueroa 2, but at 126. But again, Stephen Fulton versus Brandon Figueroa was ordered. It hasn't been made official. I don't know if Stephen Fulton's going to go to 126 or if he's going to continue to defend at 122. I kind of hope that he sticks around at 122 just a bit longer. So hopefully we could get a Stephen Fulton versus Naoya Inoue clash at 122. And yes, I have my doubts that a fight like that's going to be made because Stephen Fulton's on PBC. Inoue has been co-promoted by Top Rank for some time now. And I just don't know if I see that business coming together. But even if it doesn't, there are other guys at 122 that I would love to see Inoue fight. I would love to see him fight MJ Akhmadaliev. He is the holder of the other two belts that Stephen Fulton holds two of the belts. MJ Akhmadaliev holds the other two belts. And he has been fighting with, I believe, Matchroom DAZN. So, yeah, I would like to see those cross-promotional, Top Rank, and I believe Matchroom do business there if they can't, get Stephen Fulton and Naoya Inoue in the ring together. But that's the fight I really want to see. And I don't know who I would even favor in that one. Stephen Fulton has had some very impressive wins over, most recently, Danny Roman. He beat Brandon Figueroa in a super close fight. One of the fights of the year for 2021. He had a good win over Angelo Leo. So Stephen Fulton is looking super legit. Some people even have him like just on the outer boundaries of their pound for pound top 10s. But yeah, Naoya Inoue has just been looking spectacular in his fights. So I'm almost assuming that Naoya Inoue might actually be a slight favorite if they do make the fight between him and Stephen Fulton. I'd have to see it. But I'm assuming that he will be the favorite. He being Inoue would be the favorite over Stephen Fulton. But I just hope that that fight gets made because super important fight for boxing, for both fighters' legacies and careers. It would be one of the more interesting matchups going into the fight. How the fight plays out is anybody's guess. It could be super action-packed and exciting. It could be the opposite. But usually we've been getting pretty action-oriented fights from both Inoue and Stephen Fulton. So yeah, let me know what you thought of this battle for Undisputed, if you would call it a battle. It looked like Paul Butler didn't fully believe that he could win the fight, and he felt like his only chance was to totally lull Inoue to sleep and to catch him with something totally unexpected. It looked like that was the only path to victory for Paul Butler. And it looked like if Paul Butler kept on coming forward and fought a more aggressive fight, that Inoue would have closed the show much earlier. But yeah, let me know what you thought of the fight and what you think is going to happen next, given the politics and promotional politics in boxing, given Inoue probably going to 122 now, and whether Stephen Fulton is going to even stay at 122 and to continue to defend his two belts. Let me know your thoughts. And if it's not Inoue versus Stephen Fulton, who would you like to see Inoue fight at 122? By the way, I was also impressed by Inoue's head movement. He was showing just those slip one punch, slip one punch, slip one punch. He was doing a lot of that when Paul Butler would try to touch him with a jab or throw a right hand or, throw something that Inoue was at least somewhat aware of. Inoue's head movement was looking pretty clean, but yeah, this looked like such a mismatch where we didn't even really get much of a competitive fight at all. So Inoue, yes, he was flashing his fast hands, his power punching. You could hear the thuds of his punches, especially because the Japanese crowd is always so muted. It's like, it's quiet until there's an exchange. Then they react. So this is very different than like a UK crowd or something, right? So you did hear the thud of Inoue's power punches. He's obviously super fast, super hard hitting. He's like a generational talent when it comes to punching power. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what, because this is now at, bantamweight. This was like the third division that Inoue's held belts, or at least one belt at. It's going to be interesting now that he's pursuing 122. If that punching power is going to carry and be as devastating, if his hand speed is going to be an issue for the 122 guys, if he's going to be able to take the punches from the 122 fighters. It's going to be interesting to see this play out. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.